What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Coinist podcast. I hope you're doing well. For all the listeners that have been listening this month, it has been a massive month. We just had on a derivatives exchange and looked at a quant trading desk and gave you some insight that you probably wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. Thankful for that access. I know a ton of the listeners enjoyed that one. If you're new here as well, smash subscribe because we're going to continue to have conversations like that with the top funds, traders, analysts, and exchanges where you trust your money and have to trade on. I want to be able to have those conversations, share those perspectives, and give you a behind-the-scenes look of what those people are thinking about. Hopefully that gives you an edge or at least helps you understand as an investor or a trader investing in these things, whether it's Bitcoin or other cryptos. That's the goal here. Today's conversation, today's episode was massive. It was so much fun to record. We also look at some major news from a brokerage or an exchange that you might not know about, and they're coming to the U.S., and that's eToro. The CEO, Yoni Assia. We talk about, the beginning's pretty fun. We look at a bet that was actually made on stage at Consensus last year. Someone bet that Bitcoin would be near worthless. I think you guys will be surprised who bet that. And Yoni took him up, shook his hand, and said, we'll bet 10 Bitcoin on it. So that's a fun conversation. We also look at the new offerings of eToro and how long Yoni and eToro have been in the Bitcoin space. There's companies like Facebook or Fidelity and all these other finance companies that are kind of jumping into crypto and as they say, blockchain and not Bitcoin, slowly realize it's Bitcoin, not blockchain. But these companies are jumping in because they understand that a lot of people are joining this movement. Retail is coming in, new money's coming in, all these different things are happening. Compare that with Yoni and eToro, who have actually been involved and invested and offering Bitcoin since the very early days, things like 2012, 2014. So this is a really fun conversation from someone who's been in the space for a long time, runs a massive, massive firm. They allow social trading, a ton of new features for traders out there, and they are coming to the US, which is sweet because I know US traders are having trouble finding options as they continue to get geo-blocked out of other exchanges. So hope you guys enjoy this conversation. It was a lot of fun. Yoni, like I said, is an OG, been around the block, so always appreciate hearing what he has to say. I think you guys will enjoy this one. It's a quick little episode, so should be able to fit it in nice with your schedule as well. Before we start the episode, I do have one quick message from my sponsor, and that lead sponsor is Bybit Exchange. They make this show possible. Very appreciative. If you guys haven't checked out that exchange, you have to do it. Just do it right now. Sign up for a new account. It's right down below. trading.bybit.com/venturecoinist. You'll get $10 free just for signing out $10 in Bitcoin. You can play around with the exchange. They're getting added to TradingView, which is huge. You can use those charts that you like trading Bitcoin and charting XRP and EOS and all those contracts that Bybit offers. You'll now be able to do that on TradingView very soon. They're getting integrated. The other thing you've probably realized with Bitcoin really being the only mover of late and alts not doing too well is you have to have an exchange that you can be able to trade Bitcoin both directions or XRP and EOS both directions. So I know there's some XRP lovers or some people who aren't a fan of the XRP movement. You can trade that contract in both directions. Bybit is listening to traders and adding those features that we want. They have no overload. They're getting added to TradingView. You get 10 free bucks down below just for signing up under my link. The other thing they're letting me do, which is super cool, every single week is a way to kind of thank the listeners and the new people who are checking out this show. I'm giving away $100 at the beginning of every single episode. This week's winner starts with HRU, and there's an email at yahoo.com. I'm going to be following up with the team right after this, and we'll be depositing $100 in Bitcoin straight to your account so you can continue enjoying that Bybit platform. If you guys haven't checked them out, like I said, I have a custom link down below. Click on it. You get 10 free dollars. Plus, if you sign up next show, which will drop in a few days, you also get a chance to win $100. Right now, there's only like 100 people. Right? So 1% chance you can get $100 for free. Takes a few minutes. Sign up. You'll be blown away with exchanges that are going down and for maintenance, and there's overload. Bybit is listening to traders and solving those problems and hasn't suffered those problems yet. So check them out. Bybit right down below. Thank you, Bybit, for sponsoring the show. Without further ado, guys, let's get into this. I think you'll enjoy it with Yoni, CEO of eToro. This was fun. Cheers. Thanks for joining, Yoni. How are you?
Good, very good. Thank you for having me in.
Yeah, this will be a good talk. It's funny, a year ago, and we said this just before the call, 1 year ago, almost exactly to this date, maybe next week on this date, I was watching you or watching you speak at a Consensus panel, and I think you're going to be at Consensus again next week. This time we're actually having the conversation. What was that panel about? I'm trying to remember now.
Well, the panel was with the founder and CEO of Kickin, And I don't actually I don't remember what was the panel about. I just remember I was surprised that Ted back then had a couple of like anti-Bitcoin remarks.
Yeah.
So he said he didn't necessarily see the utility in Bitcoin. I'm obviously a big Bitcoin sort of fan myself, so that surprised me. But whenever that happens and somebody tells me that he doesn't believe in Bitcoin and he thinks that eventually price of Bitcoin will go to zero, then my best reaction is, so let's bet 10 Bitcoin on that.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's what I remember from the talk. That's why I remember this so clearly because I don't even remember maybe any other talks that I saw. I think I remember Arthur Hayes as well because he made some pretty big claims or statements there. But with your talk, there was the bet. So he was talking about Ken, and there was someone else in the panel. I forget what it was, but it was a bet between you two. And
Was
I
the
think that
founder of Indiegogo was on the panel as well.
that's it. That's it. But he was talking about what stood out to me was, whether or not there was actually a blockchain fit for Kin, and whether or not, Bitcoin, all these different things, kind of questioning Bitcoin. And it was kind of a moment for everyone in the crowd. And it was like, well, if Bitcoin isn't going to work and that's going to zero, and you have no faith in that, how do you have faith in this? So it's fun. Did you guys end up taking that bet?
Well, we haven't set a date. We shook hands on stage, so I'll collect that at some point.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's funny. Yeah, one of the things I remember. Are you speaking? Are you going to Consensus next week?
yeah,
Cool. Be back there again. I'll see you. Before we get into all the announcements that have been coming out with eToro, I think the other reason I wanted to bring up that talk is you were leaving the stage, and I think the way you left was, I have some major announcements on the way. It seems the announcements literally haven't stopped. I follow you on Twitter and I follow eToro, and I know there's been a couple huge ones. Before we hit those, though, can you give everyone that's unfamiliar with eToro a little bit of a background there? You have companies like Fidelity, you have companies like Robinhood, and all these brokerages that are trying to get into the crypto game in 2017, 2018, and 2019. But you've been in crypto personally since 2010, I believe, and eToro's been around in crypto since 2014. That's not very, that's very unique. So kind of give me that story and give the listeners that story as well.
sure. So first of all, you need to understand a bit about the history of eToro. So we founded eToro in 2007 with a vision of opening the global markets for everyone to trade and invest in a simple and transparent way. So we've been one of the largest growing fintech companies before the term fintech was coined. We're one of the largest growing online brokers in Europe, offering now commission-free stock trading across Europe and the UK. We're offering people to trade commodities, indices, currencies, and started offering cryptocurrency trading in 2014. And the entire concept of eToro is it's a social trading network where everyone can actually see, follow, and automatically copy the top traders in the network. So we're a brokerage and a social network where people can actually communicate with one another, and you can browse the portfolios of hundreds of thousands of real users and can basically automatically copy them, which basically means if you find someone who's investing in crypto and has done 50% returns last year, you copy him with $1,000. It copies all of his trades in the same proportional amount, and every time he trades, it trades him automatically in your account at the same time, same price, same proportion, which is basically sort of sharing economy meets portfolio management. So in my portfolio, which is public, everybody can see my portfolio. It's Yoni Assia on eToro. You can basically see I'm copying about 33 different people. I'm also investing in a couple, in just more than a dozen copy portfolios. So we actually also have a machine learning team that sort of builds those thematic investment products on eToro. So we've been in crypto for a while now, since basically I started actually buying crypto for eToro in 2011 and 12.
Wow.
We were involved, we basically invented the concept of colored coins back in 2012 to try and tokenize assets on top of the Bitcoin protocol. So we wrote the original white paper on colored coins together with Vitalik, who then sort of left the project to go into Ethereum
Yeah.
because he came to a conclusion that Bitcoin really isn't meant for tokenization, which is funny because Bitcoin never got to that process of tokenization other than the sort of original movement, and Ethereum and other blockchains sort of took that path. And then for a while, a lot of people constantly told me like, Bitcoin isn't interesting, and it used to be only like 2% of our users who actually traded Bitcoin. But we sort of kept trading it our own, and we sort of had that early stage connectivity from Kraken to Bitstamp to Coinbase, and gradually added more and more of the exchanges as liquidity providers to eToro.
Mm.
So when the bull run started in 2017, we were the only regulated financial institution in Europe to enable people to trade Bitcoin, and then Ethereum when it's traded at under $8, and then XRP when it traded at I think 3 cents. So we were very early to the process and sort of captured the market of a regulated financial services company offering people to easily on-ramp fiat and actually trade cryptocurrencies.
Wow. So I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know you were that OG kind of back in, because you corrected me, 2014 before the call, but 2010, 2011, and authoring that white paper with Vitalik. I mean, that's just so rare. A lot of these companies are kind of getting in onto the crypto craze because they know it will bring money. They know it will, they can charge more commissions on it. It'll bring in more clients. You've kind of been there since the beginning, and you said it was 2% of your business back then. What has it grown to now? What percentage is crypto versus traditional assets?
Well, in the Bitcoin run, sort of in the bull run of the entire market, it actually reached to some point 85% of the business.
Wow.
But now it's sort of traded down back to 10%. So
Okay.
we've seen sort of the business scale 10x, then going down back to sort of normal levels. And I think, but again, even now, sort of 7 years after we started colored coins and after we thought that tokenization made sense on top of the Bitcoin protocol, and 7 years is a while, right?
Mm.
We're actually launching now. So together with launching our own exchange, we've launched eToro X, and within that exchange, we actually launched 8 different stablecoins, and we're going to launch a variety of more stable coins because our vision is that eventually blockchain technology is going to replace the entire financial services stack. So we are a fintech company. We're connected to companies like Goldman and JP and all the big banks, sort of trading, doing daily reconciliation, settlement, clearing of stocks, commodities, indices, etc. And through that, you really get to understand that the existing financial services industry is very much disconnected. It's not really technology oriented. So I'm a computer scientist, and when I started realizing how fragmented the industry is, and the problem where you work with 25, 50 counterparties as a financial institution, and each of them have sort of different APIs, different
Yep.
way of reconciling and settlement. Clearing stocks still take 2 days. Clearing fiat to some extent takes anywhere between 1 to 5 days cross border. So you understand something needs to change radically in the tech infrastructure of financial services, and I believe blockchain and tokenization is that radical movement.
And with, if it is going to play that role, and I think it will, a lot of people that are, especially those that are invested and want to see prices go up, are always trying to think what gets more investors in, what brings in more retails, what brings in more institutions. How big is eToro? Just so people have an understanding. How many clients do you guys have that are going to be able to
Well,
purchase cryptocurrency and get in?
we have worldwide, we have 10 million users. We have last year we've done about $1 trillion in volume across all assets.
Wow.
We have about 700 employees worldwide with offices in Australia, China, UK, South Africa, Israel, Europe, Gibraltar, our distributed ledger technology, and we've just recently announced launching in the US. So we launched in
Yep.
the US in March and sort of scaling now the operation in the US as well.
Okay, cool. That's what I was going to ask because a lot of my listeners are based in the U.S. and they might not be as familiar with eToros because aren't focused on that market yet or weren't able to trade there yet. Now that you are coming there, will they have access to all of eToro's products? Will they be able to copy trade? Will it just be Bitcoin focused? What's kind of the play there for eToro, and then also for all the U.S. traders that are listening? What will they be able to do? Why do they want to be able to trade on eToro?
So we're gradually launching eToro in the US. Right now, we're offering our crypto trading platform, which is the same platform offering in the outside the US also stocks and other assets. In the US, we're starting with crypto only. We'll add later in the next 12 months. We'll add the ability to trade stocks, so you'll be able to trade both stocks and crypto in the same account. And you're already able in the US to sort of open a demo account, see, follow people from all around the world, look at people's performance track record, talk to them, and we'll be launching copy trading abilities in the US as soon as well. So US can actually copy other US customers as well, which is sort of the unique part of eToro, is really being able to see what others are doing and copy them. Later, we also launched the eToro wallet in the US. The eToro wallet enables you to you can fiat on-ramp into our platform through your bank. Then you can basically move the assets into the eToro wallet, and through that wallet, you can basically send and receive and convert cryptocurrencies to one another very easily. So we currently support 6 cryptocurrencies on the wallet, where basically it's a multi-blockchain, on-chain, multi-sig wallet. And you can convert all of these assets to one another. We're going to add more assets both to the trading platform and to the wallet very soon. eToro X, which is our exchange, hasn't launched yet in the US. We're basically working with our sort of internal legal advisors and compliance to set it up in the US this year as well.
That makes sense. That's probably quite the hurdle, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out. With that wallet, that's one of the things that a lot of people that spend a good share, a good chunk of time in crypto, or deep in crypto, as people say, really think it's so important to be able to hold your keys and actually hold the wallet. So you look at some options like Robinhood, where you can buy and sell, but it really kind of acts like a CFD on Bitcoin. It's like you can't really actually withdraw the Bitcoin. That's one of the things I believe you said with the eToro wallet. If I'm based in the US, once eToro is accepting US customers, I can go in there with my bank account, buy Bitcoin, and then actually withdraw it from that account. It's actually my Bitcoin.
Yeah, so it already works. So I think we're open now in 35 or 36 states. So you can actually deposit fiat into eToro and then just withdraw your Bitcoins into the wallet and send them anywhere you want. It's your Bitcoins. You can take them off to your hardware wallet, or you can keep them custodied at eToro. You can convert them to XRP or to Ethereum and basically decide where to keep them.
Okay, very nice. That's one thing that a lot of people, when they look at a broker, and I love that there are more options in the U.S. now. When they look at something like Robinhood, they say, it's not probably right that I can't withdraw my coins. They're not actually my coins, things like that. So I think that's crucial for people that are going to be considering you guys. The one thing that you announced with eToro X, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. You're announcing 8 stable coins. Are they your stable coins? Are they Tether and other stable coins? What is that? Why have 8?
They're our stable coins. They're USDX, EuroX, PoundX, New Zealand Kiwi X, Swiss franc X, Australian dollar X, and I forgot one. But basically, and we're actually going to launch more next week in Consensus. Stay tuned. I don't know when this actually airs.
Okay.
But the concept that we're doing is we're basically tokenizing more and more assets that we trade in the traditional markets onto the blockchain. So we trade over 2,000 markets on eToro globally. So if you open a global eToro account, you can actually trade stocks from 15 exchanges, more than I think 50 traditional currencies, fiat currencies pairs. So the concept behind eToro X is sort of to bridge that gap between the traditional financial services world and the world of crypto assets and tokenized assets.
Okay, so that makes a ton more sense because I was a little bit worried that it was just going to be another platform that has Tether and USDC and all this, but your fiat coins or your stable coins are actually what are they? They're probably wrapped and then going to play on Ethereum.
Yeah, they're
Wrapped USD.
USD tokens,
Okay.
and what we do is we basically act also as a liquidity provider. So for a lot of these pairs, we're the only exchange in the world where you can sort of trade XRP versus 8 different traditional
Yeah,
currencies,
fiats.
right?
Yep.
There's very few places where you can trade Litecoin versus Australian dollar or versus pound or versus New Zealand dollar, right? So what we're taking is our expertise in making markets in traditional fiat currencies and taking that into a cryptocurrency exchange.
Okay. Very, very cool. What are some of the other assets that you're thinking about tokenizing? I think in the article that I read, or when I first followed up with eToro X, it was not what we've already seen before. So not stable coins, and obviously you're going to be tokenizing some stable coins we haven't seen yet. But you were also talking about real estate. You were talking about art. You're
Yeah.
talking about things that aren't trading on crypto yet or on DLT yet, but could be.
If we're thinking long term, we're going to see basically everything trade on the blockchain, and everything that trades on the blockchain will be able to list on eToro X. We're looking at property actively, we're looking at art. Again, it's still premature. The market's still premature. We're looking at STOs. We're looking at tokenized assets like existing public market shares like Google and Facebook, etc. So we're sort of exploring everything, understanding that 3 to 5 years we'll be able to add liquidity and enable fractional ownership across multiple assets that don't necessarily enable that, especially not on a global scale. But we're starting with sort of the very clear ones that we know people are interested in trading actively.
Okay. Um, is there any plans to? And I asked this. The only reason I want to ask is because I asked it to Arthur of BitMEX, and obviously I had CZ on here, and they have BNB, one of the most successful tokens out. Is there any plans? Because you're talking about tokenizing things and trading things that aren't tradable elsewhere yet. Is there any plans to ever tokenize eToro or have an eToro token? Is that in the works? Has that been planned?
It's not currently in the plans. So we have as investors, so we raised $162 million traditionally. Again, we started eToro in 2007 before Bitcoin and crypto was sort of invented. So we have institutional investors, like 4 of the largest banks in the world are actually investors in eToro.
Hmm.
So we sometimes think about it, we're very innovative in our business, but raising money is still more traditional here.
Okay, cool. That has to get thrown out, especially with Bitfinex. I think the LEO or whatever they're going to call it, that $1 billion raise just came out. It's like I have to get all different exchange or brokerage owners takes on that. It's a wild world. Um, Thinking about one more thing with your actual exchange offering with the copy trading, especially for U.S. traders, like I said, that aren't familiar. How does that work? How are people that are being copied? Are they incentivized? Do you get paid somehow when people are copying you?
So people globally, Europe and Asia customers get paid a 2% assets under a copy.
Okay,
So if you get on eToro, other people sort of follow you and start copying you, and let's say invested $1 million on you, then you get paid $20,000 a year.
oh wow, that's pretty sweet. And you can copy. Well, you can copy anyone around the world. You said U.S. will be able to copy U.S. Would I be able to
Yeah,
copy you?
yeah. US right now is a bit more limited again because we're just sort
Yeah,
of launching in the US. A lot of jurisdictions require sort of very
sure,
specific regulatory frameworks.
sure. That makes sense. Um, Cool. That's really all I had for the platform for the announcements. I just wanted US traders to hear from you why this is a platform. I mean, people are looking at Fidelity and saying, "Look at all this money that can come in," and I think there's kind of a sleeping giant of eToro coming into the market, especially with all these new things you want to offer and being kind of a company that's been offering Bitcoin longer than most of these crypto native exchanges have even been around. So, is there any other news that you want to drop? I know you said you have one big announcement coming on for consensus. Is there anything you want to drop pre-consensus?
Well, we're expanding a lot of stuff in consensus. We're actually launching today commission-free trading on stocks in Europe and the UK. And we're seeing a lot of people now sort of starting and setting up accounts in the US just because we're giving zero point 0.1 ETH free for
Oh
every
wow,
person who opens account. So we're seeing a lot of US people sort of sign up to start testing our wallets.
that's pretty cool. Good stuff. Well, before I let you go, there's one other thing I want to ask. you get to see kind of behind the doors, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but you've seen your business go from 2% crypto to almost 80%, now drop back down to 10%. A lot of people are speculating and wondering whether or not the bottom is in. April, we saw this massive pop in Bitcoin's price. Are you seeing numbers increase on the volume side? Are you seeing crypto accounts get opened? What are you seeing on the back end? That's kind of a different metric that I think people can consider.
One is we've seen volume more than double over the past 2-3 months.
Okay.
That might be a good sign for a bottom. But again, I think there are some externalities that could happen to sort of break the market again, potentially around Tether, around sort of the indictments there and what's happening there. That's a bit scary. I'm not big, so I've been a trader since I was 13. But my view is always sort of choose an asset long term, believe in it long term, and then trade in and out. But first, sort of decide on sort of your macro decision. We'll see Bitcoin reach all times high again. I'm assuming that's not surprising coming from a Bitcoin zealot, right? I think all of us believe that. But I think it's important to understand that it's not necessarily about sort of, whether the bottom has been reached 2 months ago or whether there might be something in the next 2 months. Most people around the world are still significantly underinvested in crypto.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's it. When you get too close to it too, I think a lot of people miss the bigger picture, the macro view. Well, Yoni, thank you a ton for coming on. A lot of traders I know are going to be excited for your platform. If this is their first time hearing about it, I wanted them to hear from you. Look forward to testing it out myself, and hopefully I see you next week Consensus as well.
Thank you very much. Ping me on Twitter. Let's meet next week for beers. We're having a party. So I'll add you to the VIP list for the party next week in Consensus.
Oh, good deal. Look at that. I'll see you then, Yoni. Stay well.
Bye.